Hey guys, welcome to Code Box Automation Lab. This is Sherful. In this lecture, we're going to learn inheritance in TypeScript. Okay, we'll see the simple definition of inheritance and the concept and what's the benefit of using the inheritance the process in your programming language in TypeScript. We'll see that, and then we'll see some demonstration in VS Code. So, what is inheritance? So it is a process where one class can access the properties of other class. This is a very simple definition. So one class, we can say the class, is going to inherit from another class. It's called the subclass, you can say. And there is another class, it's called the superclass or parent class, the class being inherited from. So there will be it's a relationship between two class, where one class have the access the properties. It means the variable method. So there is, say example, you have a class A and it has some variables method, and there is a way, there's another class B, they can access the properties of class A. So that process is called inheritance, or subclass and superclass relationship. So to inherit from a class, they have to use extend keywords like other languages. If you're familiar with the Java, you will see in the Java, inheritance is the same concept, similar concept, and also they use the extend keyword, to make the relationship, inheritance relationship between your parent class or superclass and subclass or child class. The reason why we use inheritance, the process, it help you to reuse the code and establish a relationship between classes. So we'll see some example, the benefit of using reuse the code. This is the key point, reusing the code. So it saves your time, makes simple, easy your code. So here is the, you can say, example or syntax. So it's say there is a class A and it has some variables and method, and say there is another class, it's B, and to make a relationship between class A and B, as we said, we're going to use extend keyword. So we can use extend keyword here and then class A. So it means B over here, class B is your child class and A is now parent class. So B have the now accessibility to the class A. So class B, they may have their own variables and method. That's fine. On the top, class B can access any properties like any variables and method from class A, because class B is the child of class A. In a real life, it's a, say if you have you have a direct access the properties of your parents. So if you're a child, and so child have the direct access the properties of parents. So similarly, if the class B is the child and it has the direct access the properties of class A, which is the parent class, and this relationship established by using the extend keyword, right, like this. Okay, so this is the very simple concept of inheritance. So let's see some the benefits or advantages. Here, assume that here is a two class, the class home loan, and assume it has a 30 methods, and there is another class, it's called car loan, and it has a 30 methods. So to write that is a total method in between two classes is 60, and to develop this two class with this 60 methods, assume that the developer they needs the time 60 hours. So on the other hand, let's create another class like class loan. You can assume this class loan is a parent class, okay, and it has a 20 methods which are common method between these two classes, like class home loan and car loan. So in a car loan, both of the car loan and home loan, they have a 30 methods. So out of this 30, there is a 20 common methods. So we create another class, it's called the class loan, with this common 20 methods. Now, so if you consider this class loan as a parent, So we can create a inheritance relationship, develop the inheritance relationship between home loan and car loan. Like we can say class home loan, then use the extend keyword, then extend keyword with a loan class, right? So here is a home loan is a child, and loan, this loan class is a parent. And so in this case, using the inheritance, all you need to create or write 10 methods, like uncommon methods. Like you don't have to create those 20 common methods, because by using this inheritance process, you have the access these 20 methods from the parent class, which is the loan class, right? And similarly, you can make a relationship with your car loan, using extend keywords with the loan as a parent class. So using, and just write the unique the 10 method that belongs to this car loan. And you don't have to write the common 20 methods, because this common 20 methods you can easily access using the inheritance in this home loan as well as car loan. So using if you see over here, using the inheritance process over here, the total class method is like 40, right? 20, 30, 40, 40, and it will take around 40 hours. So we're doing the same thing over here. Like instead of writing all the methods, like if you have a common method between different classes, and writing all the methods again and again for individual all of the classes, instead of doing this, you can create a parent class with all the common methods, and then make a use the inheritance process between the child class. It saves you time and makes simple your code also. So less code, it will be speed up your process, and it will development time will be less. So there's a tons of benefit using the inheritance, the concept in your programming. Okay, so that's the real benefit of or advantages of using inheritance. So let's go back to our the VS Code to see some demonstration also. So here is one file I created. I give a name inheritance demo ts. Here let's create a class, say example person, class person. So I'm creating a class. So for creating a class, this is your class body, and here let's create a variable. Its name is a string type, and then let's create a constructor method. The constructor, in TypeScript, all you have to just use the constructor keyword, and there will be no return type, and there will be no name. So it's just a constructor. If you don't know about the constructor, if you see, please go back to my previous lecture, where I explained function, method, and also constructor in details. So I assume that you know about it. So here is I'm creating a parameter, passing a parameter inside the constructor, which is the variable, and the return type is string. So name is string. Okay, so let's see, this is the constructor body. And now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to initialize, I'm going to assign this name variable to this global variable. You can see this name variable is a class level, it is a global variable. So, and the constructor is a method, right? So this name is a local variable for this constructor. So I'm going to assign this name variable to this global variable. So, and later on, when I will pass the actual value for this name variable, that actual value will be assigned to this name variable, like global variable, right? So that's the way the actual value will be assigned to this name or global variable, right? So here, so now if I want to use this local name variable to the global variable, I have to use this keyword. So this is always stands on, stands to class level. So in your class, so you can see it automatically giving me advice, this in a class level, that this name is available, like this global variable, right? Name equals to the local one. So this name is local. Please make sure you understand, this name is the local one and this name is the global one. Okay, so I assign the local variable inside the constructor to the global variable, which is the name. Okay, So this is my one variable and one constructor for this class. Let's create another class. Let's create class, then let's say employee. Okay, now employee, I'm going to make a relationship between these two classes. So I will make this employee class as a child class. So to make a child class and this person is as a parent class, I'm going to use the extend keyword, which is the part of the inheritance process, right? Extends, you can say extends, and then what's the name of your parent class? It's a person, right? And then so now this is the body of employee, and also employee, using extend keyword, employee have the rights to access this variable of the person and the constructor, right? So here let's put some also local variable for employee. So example, I will say emp employee number. So type the return type would be number, right? And then let's create another constructor also for employee class, which is and I will create a variable parameter also. I'll pass a parameter for this constructor, which is one is name is string, and also I would say emp and also the return type is number. So I passed two parameter, name, this is now it's a local for this constructor, name and employee. Okay, and then this is the body of the constructor over here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to, from this constructor underneath the employee, this constructor I will call, I'm going to make a call this constructor that's from the parent class. So from the child class constructor, you can, since the child class have the access all the properties of the parent class, so I can make a call any properties, whether it's a variable or constructor. So inside this constructor underneath the child, I'm going to make a call the constructor underneath the parent class. So to do this, you have to use it's a keyword, it's called super. Okay, super. And then in a super, so as soon as you call this constructor, like using this super keyword, so this constructor will get called. So in this constructor, expect a value of this parameter name. Okay, so I'm going to assign this name, this variable, this local variable to this name, like the parent class constructor. Okay, so let's copy. So please don't get confused using the same variable. Okay, so now the name variable over here, the constructor inside this local constructor for underneath the employee class, it's now assigned in this name. So this name, so whatever the value would be over here for this, in this name, it will be here, and then eventually it will be assigned to this actual name variable for this person class. Okay, and now I'm going to use this, I'm going to call this variable emp number, and I will assign the local variable. So to do this, let's call this variable, which is the class level. So use this keyword, this emp number equals to this emp, right? If you want, you can make it, you can give a different variable, so it will not make you confused. So if you want, you can make it, you can give it emp 1, it's up to you. So example, if you want, you can give it emp 1, so easily you can understand. So this emp 1 is assigned to this one. Okay, so let's create another method. So this variable, this constructor, all is under employee class. Okay, let's create another method. I would say I will give a name, display. This is a method, there's no parameter, and return type would be void. So this method, inside this method, I'm going to just print some statements. So I would say I will print now, I will print this value. So whatever would be the actual value for emp number 1, it will assign to this emp. So I will print this emp, right? This one, the value of this, actual value of this. So emp, and as well as I will print the name. Okay, I will print the name, this name. So whatever the actual value, it will be assigned to this variable. So this name and employee number I'm going to print. So to do this, we can say, let's see, this dot emp, this one, and then this dot the name, right? And then to print this one, so to do this, to print this one, so use the console, right? console.log, right? Console.log. Same thing we can do over here to print it. Since this is a void, this method will just will not return anything, it will print. So that's why we're using a console.log statement, right? So now, okay, why it's showing there is this error here? Okay, duplicate identifier employee. Okay, the person. Okay, looks like there is an error here. So it's saying, let's see what it's saying. It's saying duplicate identifier employee. It's okay. Looks like, we already use this class, this name, this employee to other probably file, other class. So let's make it easy. Let's make it employee 1. You'll see. Okay, looks good. So it changed it. So save it. So now outside of the class, let's create an object of this employee 1 class. So if I create an object, to create an object, what need to do, like a Java, it's the same thing. Use a new keyword, then the class name, right? And then puts in a variable. So I would say, let's give a name emp, and then type is var type, right? So here, so we create an object, which is this one. So as soon as you create an object and puts in a variable, this is called emp. This is an object reference. So it means this object reference, using this object reference, you are able to access or call any properties from this employee class, employee 1 class. So whether it's this variable or constructor or method. And as you know, if you have a constructor in your class, as soon as you create an object of that class, the constructor gets invoked automatically by default. So that's why it's showing an error. If you hover your mouse, it will say it's a constructor employee 1. It has a 2 parameter name and emp1, and it's expected 2 argument but got 0. It means, so since it's this constructor automatically got called as soon as I create this object. So in this constructor, it has a 2 parameter, right? Name and emp no 1. So you have to pass the argument, actual argument or actual value. So let's give actual value for name. I would say, give a name, Shariful, and then, for emp, for this variable employee number 1, so let's give a name number 101. Okay, now you created this. So now this Shariful will be assigned to this name, and this number will assign to this variable. It means now this name is now Shariful, and this name will assign by using this. You are calling this constructor. So this name is now, Shariful. So this local variable name is Shariful. So Shariful assigned to this name. It means the global variable, assigned by the name it's called, the value is Shariful. Similarly, this 101, the employee number, right? So this one is now 101. So it will assign to this employee number in this variable because we assigned this one over here. So that's the way. Now, all the both of the variable in 2 different classes, it's got assigned with the actual value. Now, if you want to, print this or see the output on terminal, that's why we have a method over here, display method. So display method is saying, as soon as we have the value, if you have a real value, it will, execute this body, right? It will print it, both employee number and name, right? So now, you calling this method again, we can use the object reference because this method is underneath the same employee one class, right? So let's create how to call this emp. Use the object reference dot, you will see it shows all the properties under this class, which displays one of the method too, right? So save it now, right? And now let's run it. So to run it, we'll see sudo tsc and then the file name inheritance demo.ts, right? Hit enter, giving password for my laptop admin permission. And then as soon as you run this ts file, TypeScript file, you will see it will be convert this file to JavaScript file with the same name. You can see there is another file, inheritance demo.js. So now you are going to run this JS file. To do this, node, then file name, inheritance demo.js, right? Hit enter. You'll see it will get the value, or it will execute and it will get the actual result from the JavaScript file, from the JS file, which is 101 and shareable, right? Now how this comes, now you see this, the use case of extend keyword or relationship between two classes, like the person over here and also employee one as a child class. Okay, and also you see this, how we can get easily access the properties from your parent class over here, right? Using super keyword, right? So that's the way you can use the extend keyword and make a relationship, or can apply the inheritance process between two classes. So that's all about the inheritance use case, the benefits, and a real life example. Now there is one more concept that comes with the inheritance. It's called overriding. So what is overriding? So let's have some very clear idea about the overriding. So let's open another file. Okay, so just giving you some very simple example, overriding. So assume that it's based on the inheritance process. Okay, so there will be class, it's called parent class. So assume that this is your parent class, like P, and then there is a class also, child class over here. Okay, you can see the child class name is C. So parent class is P, child class is C. So it means the child class have the access all the properties of parent class, right? So assume that parent class, it has some variables over here, some variables and also some methods, right? Variables and methods, right? And so this child class have the access all the variables and method from this parent class, and child class, they may have their own variables and methods, right? As we have seen. So all the variables and methods from the parent class, they have some value. Say assume that the variables value is 10, and then methods, it has some methods, it has some own body over here, right? So it means it has some own value, right? Own statement. So the child class, they can access this variable, also this methods, right? There is no problem. So in overriding concept, in the child class, when they access this variable and method from the parent class, they can change the value that is assigned. So over here, we can make this variable equals to 20. Okay, so we can assign the different value. You can't change the the body. You can't change the name, but you can change the value that is assigned to variable. Similarly, you can call the same method over here, but you can change the body inside, like the implementation of the body. You can't change the body name, you can't change the return type. You have to keep it exactly the same it is in from the parent class. But what you can change over here. you can change over here inside the implementation part or body, body of the method. So it means whatever new a body you are going to put for this method, it will be override, will be replaced of this the actual value. It's just like same thing over here is like you assign a new value like 20 to this variable where it has original value as 10. So now 20 will be the latest value, will be replaced with the replace of the old value. So it means you can override the value or the implementation or body of the method from the child class when you use extend or using the inheritance, and that's the called the overriding. So it means you are overriding the values from the parent class's properties. So okay, that's a simple concept of overriding. Let's see an example. So let's go back to our VS Code, and here I have another file. It's called overriding TS file. Let's create a simple class called class bank. Okay, and this is the body. This is the body of the class, and here let's declare a variable. It's called rate of, I would say, interest, rate of interest, and the return type would be number. Okay, say assign one value, it's 1. Okay, and let's create another method. One method over here is called rate and no parameter, and the return type would be number, and this is the number. This is the body of the rate method, and let's return. I'm going to just return the value of this the variable like rate of interest. So it is already assigned 1, so it will be return 1. So if I want to call this variable inside the method, I have to use this keyword, right? Because the method inside the method, this is a local, but this variable is a global or class level. So that's why we have to use this keyword to call this variable, right? So it means this variable, this variable, it means whatever the value is assigned, which is 1, so it will be return 1. That's why its return type is number. Very simple class with a variable and a method. Let's create another class, make a inheritance. So class name, I would say TD, and to make it TD as your child class, I have to use extend, right? Extends, and then extend over what? It's a bank. So bank is our parent class over here, and TD is the child class. Okay, so this is the body of the class, TD class, and it has its own, let's make it has its own method, right? So I would say same method, similar type of method. The body would be same, because to make override, you can't change the name of the method or variable or return type. All you can change the board, the body inside the method, like implementation of the method. So the name of the method would be the same, and the return type would be the same. Like signature of the method you can't change. Okay, so let's, this is the body. So this time I'm going to make a change. So let's say return, I'm say return is 2.5%, 2.5. Okay, so you can see over here both class, we both class have the same method, but the parent class have the return is, which is 1%, you can say, and here the child class, the same method, it has the return is different. Only the difference is between these two method is the body implementation or body, right? But the name, everything is same. It means we are overriding. So now this 2.5 will override the actual body or actual number, the return number from the parent class. So that's the overriding. I'm doing overriding, right? So let's do similar thing. Another class, I would say, let's create another class. Let's copy it, and then I will change the class name. Let's give a name, this one, the class child class name RVC, and then same, I will just make it a return, and the same method I will make it 4.5. Okay, you see that only the body part is changing, the implementation, everything is same. So this bank is now, it's a parent class, and it has a multiple child. The same thing it's happened in real life, the one parent, they can have a multiple child. So it has a multiple child, one is TD, another one is RVC, and both of them have the common the same method like the parent class have, but the implementation is different for the different classes. Okay, now if I want to create, now if I want to just execute this the rate this method from the TD or RBC, it depends on what method from what class I'm going to call. I have to create an object of the same class, which is very simple, right? So isn't that I'm going to call this rate of the TD bank. So let's create an object of the TD bank. So use the new keyword, then TD class, and then let's put in, this one is a variable TD and its a type is var. Right now TD have the knowledge all the methods inside this TD class, as well as this variable, this object reference has the knowledge all the methods from the TD class as well as from the parent class too. Right now if I use TD dot, if I was TD dot read method, if I call the read method, what would be the print? Which one will be print? So now TD dot read. So TD have the access this read, and also TD have the access this read, because TD is the child, right? And both have the same name. So if I print this one, I would say console.log. If I say console.log, now if I print this, call this method, and the value would be printed. If I print this, what number will be print over here? Is that going to print 2.5 from here, or is that going to print the percentage 1? Which one is going to print? It will print the latest update value is been overwritten, which is 2.5. It means it will call this method, because this method, between these two methods, this is the latest number being updated inside the body. So that your body is like 1 in the parent class, it will be replaced with the 2.5. Similarly, if I want to do with call the RBC, you can just create an object of the RBC. So let's create call the RBC, and let's give a variable name RBC over here, RBC also, right? And here just RBC, right? It will, in this case, this RBC dot read, it means it will call this method which is the 4.5 is the latest update or change from against of this body from the parent class, right? So always it's override with the child implementation. So if you have the similar variable or method in your class, in your parent class, and it's the same method or variable you have in a child class, in a child class value will be override with the parent class values. So that's the override concept. Let's save it and let's run it and see this is that returning 2.5 and 4.5, or it's returning 1. Let's do it. Okay, I would say let's sudo tsc. Let's what's the name? Overriding .ts, right? And then node, then what's the overriding.js. Okay, you can see here is the output 2.5 and 4.5. So from this code, like it's from the td.r read, this method it's returning 2.5, and also from the this line it's returning 4.5. Whereas for the same method in parent class we had a return is 1%, which is the 1, but it didn't return 1 because it's override its a value from the child class for the similar method. Okay, that's the overriding in the concept, which is very helpful So that's all pretty much the inheritance concept. Like you have seen the what is inheritance and how to use the benefits, and also the use case of overriding using the inheritance process. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned. Have a good one. Bye bye.